everybody. Another live stream. I had thought this live stream would be focusing on the Disney investor call this morning, which was at frickin' 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it ended up there not really being anything to discuss. A little bit. Oh, thank you, Lady Jennifer Snow. So generous. So we're going to talk about it. A little story came out of it. But we ended up having, more of a regular stream today. Although that's understandable. Disney's been making so many announcements. They've had 2 back-to-back D23s. There's only so many announcements they can make over there. And so maybe that's one of the reasons they scheduled the call for so early this morning. Now, I just want to say, so anyway, we're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining me, whether you're joining me live as a member or not a member, or if you're joining me after the fact. Thank you so much. Hey, Sean. And as always, please keep your questions and comments to the story at hand. I will address your comments and questions at the end of each story. And then, of course, as always, the final 10 minutes of the stream will be an Ask Me Anything. All right, so story number 1. Boop. All right, so before we put up the chapter times, I just want to say that I almost didn't cover this story because Lady Gaga fans are quite aggressive online on Twitter. This was something I had not known until recently because we've always had really nice, positive conversations about Lady Gaga. But then Joker 2 happened. And in the defense of Lady Gaga fans, they're the only ones really who went to see the movie. There weren't enough of them to really make any money for the film, certainly not to cover its cost. But, very, very aggressive. And, not wanting any, I want to make something very clear. I certainly am a fan of certain talent personally, but this isn't a fan channel. This is an entertainment news channel. So I address things that are happening, and so it's a little bit jarring to collide head on with the fan space that wants to hear nothing but praise, even if it's empty, disingenuous, incorrect, not true praise. So yeah. But I was like, someone's going to ask me about it in the stream anyway. I might as well cover it. All right, so that's where I'm coming from. Okay, I just want to make that clear. All right, so and also something else I want to say about Lady Gaga is she's at an interesting point in her career. She's probably about to take a little bit of a break. I believe she just got married, very low key. I think she's planning on starting a family. Fingers crossed for her. We want only good things for Lady Gaga. And so she's probably going to end up taking a little bit of a break. And then, that's an interesting question, Sean. Does she want to be an actor or a singer? I'm glad that you asked that, so I don't have to get in trouble. But I do think that the division of her focus has affected her a little bit in both categories. I think it's allowed other people to pull ahead of her in the acting category and a little bit in the singing category. Pumpkin Pete, why not both? You can do both, but I think, and by the way, I want to make it clear that Lady Gaga will always be iconic. Lady Gaga will always be a name. She just did a number at the Olympics, for Pete's sake. She will always be Lady Gaga. But, right now, I think that Beyonce and Taylor Swift are obviously outpacing her in the music category. And as Nacho says, Ariana Grande is, thank you, Kylie. Ariana Grande is getting incredible reviews for Wicked. But Ariana Grande, she just got snubbed for the Grammys, right? I mean, Ariana Grande, I think, is moving solely to acting. But also, I think Ariana Grande picked an excellent, she was cast in and was fortunate enough to land the role of a role that's pretty much perfect for her. Hey, Irish Drew, thank you for gifting that. And we had thought that Joker 2 was going to be that kind of, that's what makes it so sad. We had thought Joker 2 was going to be that kind of role for Lady Gaga. And I think it could have been if it had been handled correctly. I think that, Todd Phillips, hey, Lady Gaga stans, if you want to be upset with anybody, there's your person. I think that, Todd Phillips caused significant damage for her. I think she was very well cast as Harley Quinn. I'm sure there's some phenomenal stuff that has not seen the light of day. So I think that those are all elements. And I really, now that I think about it, I do think that, Ariana Grande as Glinda is really what Lady Gaga should have been as Harley Quinn. Okay. Although I do want to say that, maybe Lady Gaga was a Harley Quinn for women in the LGBTQ community, and Joker is a male-oriented property. So that might have been a little bit of an issue as well. Ben 10, I haven't heard about her being in the new Tarantino film, but he was defending Joker too. So I think the odds of her being in the new Quentin Tarantino film have gone up. Okay, so here's our chapter times for what we're going to discuss. Let me get my arrow. Where'd it go? Here it is. All righty. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through my own situation and how I have reacted to this news that Lady Gaga will at the very least have a cameo in Wednesday season 2. Was it a full-on supporting role? Is she just going to show up for a second? Nobody knows, to quote George Washington from SNL. But she is apparently in the second season in some capacity. So actually, I tried to be really nice on social media, but my initial reaction was one of sadness, because I felt that this project was beneath her. And I felt kind of bad for her that I was like, ooh. That was honestly my first reaction. I was like, you should have turned it down, Lady Gaga. You shouldn't have done it. But I've been thinking about it, so I want to walk you through, my thoughts on it. Yeah, Pumpkin Pete, it felt like, to me, a step backward. There's a famous rule in life. It's that you don't repeat your best work. All right? And I felt this seemed a little bit too much like her work in American Horror Story, which was very important to her career because it got her started off as an actress, and she was a good fit with it. It got a strong fandom with her. I think that I think that was the right move at the time. But then she moved on to all these Oscar caliber projects, and she was nominated for an Oscar for A Star is Born, and then she seems to have been trying to repeat that. And I want to make it clear, I think Lady Gaga is a fantastic actress. I think she is Oscar level. And so I thought she was fantastic in House of Gucci. I thought she did a really wonderful job there. And I think she did as good a job as she could in Joker 2 with the material that she was given and what was left of the role. But anyway, to me, this felt like a step backward. Then there's also, some people said, well, hey, wait a minute. Isn't this Mr. Tim Burton? Well, while he's coming off of Beetlejuice 2 right now, let's not forget that Tim Burton has had a very hard time for the past 10 years or so. He certainly has not been synonymous with quality, and while he certainly has like an image, and he too will always be a name. But, I think that he's kind of run his image into the ground, like he's just maybe done it too much, and it's been too sloppy, and he's kind of cheated it, And I think people are a little bit like, Tim Burton's like a one-trick pony. And I think James Gunn, by the way, I got Creature Commando, I almost called it Suicide Squad. It is Suicide Squad. I got screeners for that, and we're going to have a very similar conversation probably about James Gunn. I hope to God that Superman is different than Creature Commandos, Guardians of the Galaxy, Suicide Squad. It's like, if you can do something well, that's awesome. But you have to be careful not to do too much. Ridley Scott, Ben 10, that's also an excellent comparison, especially if you lose the quality. If it just becomes going through the paces, that's a good way to put it. And leaning too much on your image, to the point where people are like, how many times are we going to do this? So there's a little bit of an element to that as well. Now, prestige actress. As I said, I think that Lady Gaga is a prestige actress. I think she's really, 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 really talented. And it pains me to see her having to do something like this. I'm like, well, I'll talk about the streaming show in a minute. But anyway, I think that this role does not match a prestige actress. This is like she's fast forwarded to her Cate Blanchett era. When there's a certain stage in someone's career where they just start wanting to make money. Robert De Niro has gone through that. Cate Blanchett is currently going through that as well. But those actors always still do those prestige projects sprinkled in between that offset their clear paycheck gigs. I'm not saying, by the way, that Wednesday is a paycheck gig for Lady Gaga. I just feel it's too early in her career to be taking on this kind of a role. I feel she's still trying to create her career. Manpreet says, weren't they filming Wednesday for a while now? That may be a very small role. Yeah, it could just be a cameo. It could just be a cameo, to be totally clear. So I just feel like, it's like I was talking to a friend about it last night, and I was like, because one of you tweeted, or a Lady Gaga fan was like, Jenna Ortega is a really hot talent right now, Grace. How dare you? How dare you? Like white glove slap. And I wanted to clarify that Jenna Ortega is not a prestige actress. Jenna Ortega is in her Sally Field Gidget stage, where she's certainly a very popular person, and everybody wants to cast Jenna Ortega because they feel she brings in an audience. But, and Sally Field, by the way, went on to become an Oscar-winning actress and a prestige actress in her own right, but not when she was Gidget. For those of you who don't know, Sally Field started out as a character called Gidget on a television show, which was extremely popular, and she did a lot of surfing stuff on the beach, and she wore a bikini, and she had pigtails, and that's who Gidget was, and that's what made Sally Field a star. So this is the Gidget phase for Jenna Ortega. Oh yeah, and the Flying Nun. Like right, Dancing Dog 60. So Jenna Ortega is a huge star, but I don't think Lady Gaga should stand next to her. I mean, unless it's like, like Aubrey Plaza is a better match with Jenna Ortega. It's like, where should you be? That's how I feel. And I feel like this is, I told you, my initial reaction was, I feel this is all kind of beneath Lady Gaga. All right, and then I thought about Cher and Madonna, who obviously Lady Gaga has been trying to follow in their footsteps. Madonna never really totally made it. There was a moment where Madonna was being taken somewhat seriously as an actress. But Cher, of course, was taken very seriously as an actress and even won an Oscar. But Lady Gaga has yet to get to that point. So I'm like, you got to keep trying. I really feel, I wish, and maybe she is still trying. Maybe this is just to keep her name in the conversation and to get a big boost on social media to prove she can still move the needle. She better pray that she does. Boy, this better be the best cameo ever. She can't take any more hits. She cannot take any more hits. Split Fries Media says, Lady Gaga has an Oscar, thank you very much. She certainly does, but for singing. She does not have an Oscar for acting. And the question is, what is Lady Gaga? Is she an actress or is she a singer? Very rarely is someone able to say that they are both. I think like Cher is one of the only people who has really truly been able to do that. But not even today. Cher was not able to maintain her acting career. And I don't want to see, I would love to see Lady Gaga be Cher someday. I don't want to see Lady Gaga become Cher tomorrow. That's what I'm worried about. Oh yeah, Barbara Streisand, Mika. Thank you. Barbara Streisand is perfect. I really am worried that Lady Gaga is like on a fast forward track and she's going to turn into Cher tomorrow. Like Cher today tomorrow. I'm like, no, Cher's like X number of years ahead of you. You are not Cher now. Take a break. Be careful. All right. Yeah, Liza Minnelli, but not Liza Minnelli today. Maybe it's because Lady Gaga did all those Tony Bennett concerts, but Lady Gaga is not in the same age range as Cher and Liza Minnelli. She is still very much supposed to be in her prime, and it's making me nervous that she's starting to get pushed into this older category of people who are, not in their prime. All right, let's talk about some positive things. And so I had said she should do a streaming show, okay? Oh, not modern art history. That's so generous of you. Thank you. So yes, many of you brought up the fact that I had said she should do a streaming show. And I was like, yes, she should do a streaming show. That's what I recommended. But whoa, I should have clarified. Because I don't think that a streaming show that seems to be made largely for families and teenagers with TV lighting is really what I had imagined for her. I had imagined, yes, that's right, Ben 10, an HBO show. And, not like a current HBO show. I'm thinking White Lotus. I'm thinking Mayor of Easttown. I'm thinking a gritty HBO show where they're like acting. I would have taken also like a Showtime show or Apple TV. That's right, Tyler. I would have taken anything that, again, was prestige. You know, Christian, that's right. But Nicole Kidman kind of sells out a little bit too. I mean, Nicole Kidman, like, look at The Perfect Couple. That has TV lighting as well. But that's what I was hoping for her. You know, so her being basically on Sabrina 2.0, it makes me nervous. I'm like, oh, what? That's not what I thought. All right. Ryan Murphy, it would depend on the Ryan Murphy project. You know, if it was something like very dark, well then yes, I would be interested in it, you know? But I don't want to, nothing too cutesy. I'm like, what's the lighting going to be like? What's she going to be wearing? I'm scared, you know? Now, some people pointed out that the whole reason she's doing this is because of the very famous Wednesday dance, which was incredible. When I was watching my screeners for Wednesday, the first season, this was the moment I knew they had something special. When I saw this dance, I was like, that's incredible. I was like, that's amazing. That's it. And sure enough, it became a huge sensation. Now, Lady Gaga's song was not used in the original version. However, it became a TikTok sensation with people putting her song Bloody Mary to this dance and apparently speeding up the video so that it fit with the beat of the Lady Gaga song. And it was a huge hit on social media. And so, you know, if Lady Gaga just shows up and does the dance with Wednesday, fantastic. I hope it doesn't leak. Okay? I'd be like, if anybody on this set leaks this goddamn dance, I'll kill you. All right. All right? Or I will end you. You know, like that's, I mean, I don't know. It's very hard these days to combat leaks because there's like some intern in the corner being like, hee hee, Google, bloop, 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 bloop. Like that's the problem. You know, like there's some extra, there's an intern, there's like just somebody who's like does not give an F. Who's like, man, I just am having a good time here. You know, baked out of my mind on set to the Twitters, you know, and that's how this stuff happens, I think, a lot, you know. You know, they talk about closed sets, and I think maybe they should consider utilizing them a little bit better. But yeah, if they just put her in this dance, the second dance, because how do you top this dance? I know, you put Lady Gaga next to her. Then I would feel very good about it. All right. And then you know what else made me feel good? Season 2 cast. I was like, who is in the Season 2 cast? And then I was like, oh my. All right, so let's go over the Season 2 cast. I don't know how Netflix is paying for all this. So Catherine Zeta-Jones was in the first season, and she is an Oscar winner. But Catherine Zeta-Jones doesn't work anymore, all right? So Catherine Zeta-Jones, this was like considered a comeback for her. And I have to say, I think she's an excellent Morticia Addams. Then the Luis Guzman, he plays Gomez Addams. I actually think he's excellent, you know. I almost didn't include him on this list, but I wanted to be respectful of his legacy. You know, I think he's a name. He's not totally like a name, like a prestige performer, but he's still, you know, he's a name. If he was the only one, I would be like, watch out, Lady Gaga. But, you know, if I'm going to add people to a pile, I got to put Luis Guzman in it. All right, then Fred Armisen. He was very good as Uncle Fester. He did a nice job. He was like a really good addition. You know, in fact, he met his current wife making this show. I think they were long-term friends, but, you know, they decided to take their relationship to the next level. That's right, the Twitters. I like to call it the Twitters. All right, then, Steve Buscemi. Although Steve Buscemi has long not been above a paycheck gig. You know, he's done a lot of Adam Sandler movies. He's famous for that, you know, that meme and gif, hello, fellow kids. But he's a funny guy, and he's going to be the new headmaster of the school. So he's pretty good, though. Thandaway Newton does a lot of television, but a lot of good television. Look at you guys already reading the list ahead. I know, it's a good list. You know, if I look at this list, I go, maybe I will write Lady Gaga at the bottom of that. So I love Thandaway Newton. Love her to death because she was so good in a Westworld. Made me, you know, that just shows how important the right role is, and your actors and your directors taking care of you. I was just like, Thandaway Newton, ride or die after Westworld. I will forever be a huge fan. Christopher freaking Lloyd, the original Uncle Fester, well, not the original, but from the Addams Family movies, he is going to be in this as well, Christopher Lloyd, so that's a huge get. That's a really big get. And then some UK talent. Billy Piper, for those of you who are in the UK. I've heard of Billy Piper. I'm not a huge Billy Piper fan because I'm in America. But, she's certainly a name. And then Joanna Lumley, who is also a big name. I'm more familiar with her work because back in the day, wasn't she an absolutely fabulous, right? Which I watched with my mother when I was little. My mother was like, this show is amazing. So we watched that a lot. And I'm very happy that, I like Joanna Lumley quite a bit. And my mother always kind of said I had a little bit of Joanna Lumley vibes myself, which I thought was I thought, thanks, Mom. And so I'm always like, Joanna Lumley, I always pay a little more attention to her. All right, so this is a pretty good cast, I gotta say. So it makes me feel a little better. But again, all of these actors here have done television. But Lady Gaga has only done American Horror Story. And the lighting on Wednesday is sitcom lighting based. Not sitcom, but it's family lighting. I'm just very worried about what it's going to look like. To me, Lady Gaga deserves to be in, high drama, presentation, So having Lady Gaga, be in this kind of lighting, like the Arrowverse. That's right, Victor. Having her on CW lighting, that's the perfect way to say it. That makes me very scared. I mean, if I were Lady Gaga's management team, I'd be like, I have full control over the image. My team, that's I guess would make me sign on for this. If I were her Lady Gaga, I would have my manager and agent insist that her hair and makeup, costume people, and lighting team have full control over the way that she looks on the show. I'd be like, if we don't approve it, you cannot roll camera. That would be my insistence. So we'll see what happens. I just wanted to explain my position and why I said what I said, and my trepidation about it. Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this? Sean says he thinks I'm right. It's just going to be the dance and then dip. I like the way you say that. Dance and dip, baby. That's great. Juan, you don't like that list of actors? It is a little light on diversity, but, Thandaway Newton's in there, and Luis Guzman. Drago says, Grace, I heard that Jenna Ortega said Wednesday she will focus more on the mystery than the romance love triangle. I think that's great, especially because one of those actors turns out to be super toxic. I don't think Wednesday always needs a romantic love interest. Isn't she kind of like, I think she's not really even interested in that. And I think that's, I think especially for a family show, I would think that's a refreshing change of pace. Innovative David says, recently Rihanna spoke out how her music gained her attention, but God had other plans for her, like her beauty line, and Gaga is maybe ready to move on. Well, doesn't Lady Gaga I think Lady Gaga has a makeup line. I almost purchased some of it, actually, for my Wicked look. Both discographies will always be timeless and iconic. I know some of you are huge Lady Gaga fans, and she has an album coming up, so that's great. I would like to see, I'm glad that her single with Bruno Mars was nominated, and I liked her costume for that quite a bit. And I liked her glitter freckles and everything. I thought that was great, but I didn't like the song. And so I felt bad about it. That's why I didn't talk about it anymore. I try not to be negative, but I have to address what's happening. But I'm not going to just be negative for the sake of being negative ever. That's why I was like, what Lady Gaga song? Especially because I don't cover music. So there's no reason for me to wade in there and be like, no, likey. But I would like to see Lady Gaga going back to her Michael Jackson era, where she was putting out songs that were at that level and music videos that were at that level. I mean, remember the music videos Lady Gaga used to put out? Those were incredible. I would love to see her do that again. Thank you, Sadie. That's very sweet of you to say. Thank you, Sean. Thank you again, Sadie. Let's see here. And then Steven says, I would love to see Lady Gaga in some sort of prestige psychological thriller like Black Swan. She would kill that. She'd kill on that. And then Xtina says, Madonna, Lady Gaga is a movie. You think she cannot act like Patti LuPone? Stop trying to put words in my mouth, Xtina. You're going to get me in trouble. I disagree although we obviously just saw in Agatha All Along that Patti LuPone is an incredible actress. But I think Lady Gaga is an excellent actress. I do have some concern about her ability to sell movie tickets after both House of Gucci and Joker 2. But I wouldn't give up on her. I think she just has to pivot a little bit. I mean, I'd be nervous. But I wouldn't put her at the Madonna camp. And I think Lady Gaga is an excellent actress. I think she should have been nominated for House of Gucci. I think it was really unfortunate that she didn't get enough credit for what she did there. That's so funny. Who just said that about Nosferatu? Mark said it's too late to add her to Nosferatu. You know, I can't review Nosferatu yet because the review embargo hasn't lifted, but the social media embargo has lifted, so I can discuss it a little bit. I do think that Lily Rose Depp does a perfectly nice job in the role, but she doesn't really bring anything to it. I think that Lady Gaga, I mean, I don't know if she's the right age for that role. She might be a touch out of the age range that they would want for that, but she would have been incredible in that. She would have been a very nice addition to that. Robert Eggers. She should call up Robert Eggers. That's a great idea. Isaiah says she's in the show to promote new music next year. That would be great. Let's see here. Lady Gaga, Bride of Frankenstein. That's interesting as well. You know, both Angelina Jolie and Gal Gadot wanted that role. But she would have been, you know, Lady Gaga would be a good Bride of Frankenstein. No, I don't know about Agatha All Along because I think Lady Gaga, again, I worry about the television CW lighting. I mean, Agatha obviously looked better than that, but it is still, I don't think, you know, it's too TV. I want TV that was at the level of film. Hey, Sean, thank you again. That's what I'm looking for. The new Harry Potter show, Miles. What an interesting idea. I like it. You know who she should take on? The Helena Bonham Carter role. These are good ideas. We've brainstormed some excellent next moves for Lady Gaga. Be the master of her own fate. Yeah, Bellatrix. She would be great in that. That would be a really good role for her. I like that a lot. Yeah. Somebody go tweet that to Lady Gaga. Give me credit, please, because Lady Gaga fans are giving me a problem. I'm trying to help. Okay. Oh, yeah. That's right, Allie. Lady Gaga would have a very hard time working with J.K. Rowling. I would say, hey, you will be countering J.K. Rowling, and you never have to speak to her. If I were Warner Brothers, I'd be like, I will never put you in the same room with her. Don't worry about it. All right. But I like the Bellatrix Lestrange, really. I think that's a great idea. I think following maybe the roles of Helena Bonham Carter isn't a bad idea either. You know, we always say, find an actor and follow in their footsteps. We've seen many current actors doing that themselves. From Robert Pattinson to Timothée Chalamet, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and I think that Lady Gaga has been trying to follow Cher. She might be maybe she'd be better off following Helena Bonham Carter. That might be a better choice for her. Oh, Al, we don't want to fight with the Lady Gaga stans. We want to make peace with them. They're fighting a one-sided fight because there are no Lady Gaga haters here. Hey, Charles Joseph. All right. All right, let's go to the next story. All right. I think we had a very constructive conversation there. John, I think that, I don't know. I have to see Superman. I'm too worried. I have to see Superman. I wonder if James Gunn can do anything else besides what we've seen him do. I'm really nervous about it after seeing Creature Commandos. Okay. Story number 2. Boopity boop boop. Oh, thank you, Abul. Okay. Whoo boy, more good news. All right, so I love that picture of them, by the way. Look at these two witches. Oh yeah, they're serving up a storm. All right. So that's right, Gagatha, Wanda's attorney. That's very funny. Although that also works with Lady Gaga. That's funny. I'd be like, oh, the Gagatha hashtag is hard to resist. All right, so the Nielsen ratings. As we all know, these Nielsen ratings have been in the toilet. All right, really bad. But today, they got some very, very good news. Hey, Aishan, that's right, they're smizing. Oh, Tyra Banks callback. Smizing, it's an important thing. All right, so I didn't watch the Agatha All Along behind the scenes. Maybe I will. I've been looking for something to watch. I've been just mainlining streamers left and right. And so I need a little bit of a break. All right, maybe I'll watch that tonight. Maybe I'll watch that and the Deadpool and Wolverine one. Okay, usually I don't like watching behind the scenes things because it feels too much like work, and I like to turn my brain off when I'm not working. But I like those shows and that movie so much, maybe I would like to see what's going on with that. All right, so anyway, they got some very good news today. So as you know, there was a Disney investor call this morning, as I just said earlier, and it was super boring. But they did have very good news about Disney Plus. Disney Plus continues to grow, and it added 4.4 million subscribers. So in the last quarter. So huzzah! All right. I get dry skin in the winter. Sorry about that. All right. So I gotta get my. Oh, I do have my hand lotion right here. All right. So Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine obviously have generated a lot of profits, but Agatha All Along, interestingly enough, Bob Iger today said, you know what we think helps drive subscriptions? Agatha All Along. Who knows if it's true? Who cares if it's true? Bob Iger thinks it's true. So that is very, very exciting. So they obviously feel that Agatha All Along drives subscriptions. Remember I told you, in the world of streaming, it's not about viewership. What's the most important is combating churn, getting people not, and Disney is about to release a thing where you can just pause instead of, you can pause your subscription because they're worried you're going to forget to sign up again. So they're like, why don't you just sign up and say you want to take a 1-month break, and then we'll start charging you as soon as the month is over. So that's their plan there. So they're really trying, the name of the game is combating churn and signing up new subscribers. And so they are very confident, again, regardless of whether or not it's true, they feel that Agatha All Along is driving subscriptions and keeping people engaged and, combating churn. That's wonderful. That's very, very exciting. And, I know sometimes there's like a lot of pirating or people watch these shows through social media, but I think that people were so positive about Agatha, they wanted to support it. So they did watch it on the platform if they could. Obviously sometimes people are having hard times and they got to sail the 7 seas. But sometimes out of spite, people refuse to watch a show on a streaming service and will go out of their way, acolyte, to watch it on social media and other avenues, etc. Reaction videos, the like. But I think with Agatha, people liked it and wanted to watch it properly. So that's really good as well. So I think it brought a lot of goodwill. But also there's something else that I want to talk about that I think, especially as we're heading into Trump 2.0, that I really want to talk about that I think is important. Okay? And that is the strength of the LGBTQ fandom. The LGBTQ fandom is very, very strong in their ability to get things talked about. I think and I don't think they get enough credit. There are lots of different spaces online. There's Black Twitter, right? There's, DC Brazil fans. Like, they're like a huge force. Like, Brazil is like driving the DC movies for better or worse, all right? And, other things as well. There are other, like some toxic armies as well. But they're definitely Twitter armies, social media armies. And I think that the LGBTQ social media army is not only very strong, but I would say almost always a force for positivity. And I'm very proud to be an ally with that group. I love you guys, And I think that, I think, sometimes fandoms, we even just talked about the Lady Gaga fandom sometimes being really mean. I personally have never seen the LGBTQ fandom be mean. Sometimes they might be, like myself, sometimes they might be a little spicy, and it might be perceived as not very nice. But I think it's always coming from a very good place. So yeah, sure. Sometimes it's fun to be a bitch and be shady, as you said, Tenerife, but it's again, always coming from a good place. And so I think that is one of the things that has really helped Wanda, and I think has really helped this show. And I think, that's one of the reasons that I think that Heartstopper is so valuable to Netflix. And I think it's interesting to see, I love you guys. I love all the love that I'm seeing in the chat. But I think that Disney's recognizing that, and I think that they've had a hard time. Disney's always been very, connected to the LGBTQ community beyond the fandom, to the people who work there and make the magic, make the Disney magic. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted by your comments. Who make the Disney magic. But I think that in terms of representing the LGBTQ community, Disney has struggled how to do it correctly and constructively and effectively. And I think that obviously Agatha, clearly, and I feel very strongly about this, I think that Agatha is the first time they've really done it well. And that's Jack Schaefer, by the way. So yeah. And Ben 10, you're right. If Wiccan succeeds, it will be because of that community as well. So you guys are about to maybe finish the year quite strong. You're doing a lot of heavy lifting. I think that, to me, I think that's very important. And I think that's what's driven Agatha. I think that's the reason Agatha is successful. And I'd like to point out that Agatha was successful because it was good, organic representation. Variety almost killed it with the way they tried to frame the show. But the show was just too good and too special. And I think that that's what you're witnessing here. And that, I think Agatha is an excellent example of if you do representation right, it is very successful and it is not hated upon. And I hope to see other representation. Black Panther too. Black Panther was very well done thanks to Ryan Coogler. So I think when you see representation done correctly from a good place, and it's not trying to check boxes and wear its message on its sleeve, and it just is, and it has great storytelling and great costumes and characters and cool action sequences and mythology and mystery, that's when it succeeds. And I think that will really be, I think that's important. Let's see here. You guys are so sweet. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Starry. Thank you. And iReady, yes, always. Shout out to Howard Ashman. There would be no Disney like it is today without the Disney Renaissance, Jeffrey Katzenberg deserves credit for hiring Howard Ashman, but Howard Ashman, who tragically died of AIDS, really was what created, what Disney, Disney would not be what it is today without him. Michael Eisner, obviously, Jeffrey Katzenberg, they helped pull it out of there, but Howard Ashman was, I think, just as important as those individuals. All right, so I really think that that's important. All right. Then Wiccan series. I just love that. I love you guys so much, and I think it's such a wonderful community to be a part of. Thank you, Ryan. I just really hate seeing people hate on it and not realizing how wonderful a space it is to be in. And everybody should feel welcome there and want to be there. Okay. All right. So Wiccan series. The Wiccan series, I think, this is just more of a sign that they're going to make it. I would expect this announcement that they're doing a Wiccan series any day. They already kind of tweeted "Search for Tommy" just the other day, right before the election. I think that there's some chance that Disney's holding off on some things because it's right after the election. We're not talking about Rachel Zegler because Rachel Zegler is just making things very difficult for Snow White. It's almost like she's Jessica Chastain 2.0, where she's just creating a really difficult situation, but nobody can talk to her about it because she would probably just tweet about it. And, I feel bad because I think the Snow White movie, at least what we've seen so far, looks good, except for the dwarves. And, but I think they're holding back on some projects because they just don't want to be, stuck in this mess, So I hope the Snow White trailer, they showed it privately at D23 Brazil, because obviously Rachel Zegler, Brazil. Also, we'll see. They're going to have a tough time with Snow White for a lot of reasons. But I hope that trailer comes out before Moana 2. I hope we see it in the next week or so. And then, let's just see what happens. And I hope that they, at a good time, I don't think anybody hated on Agatha. I would announce the Wiccan show. I haven't heard that it's happening, but I feel very strongly that it is, if you read the tea leaves, right? If you do a reading. So I hope that they announce it soon. And I think this is just more evidence that they will. That clearly this engagement with this fandom is helpful to Disney, to Disney Plus, and so keep it going. All right, they got to speed this up, though. They got to speed up the Marvel treadmill. The cosmic treadmill's over at DC. But they got to speed this frickin' thing up, man. This is just taking too long. I don't want them to announce a Wiccan show and we have to wait 5 years or 4 years for it. Let's go. They got to speed up their production over there because it's just really infuriating. Because on that note, where's Wanda? Everybody just always says, yes, but also where's the Wanda? Kevin Feige was teasing her at D23 Brazil because obviously they're big Wanda fans down there, as you would expect. Brazil fandom is very influential, I think, in all areas, but they seem to be the leaders when it comes to DC fandom from what I've seen. But where the heck is Wanda? Kevin Feige keeps teasing her and teasing her and teasing her, but as I said, I think we all feel she's going to be in the Doomsday movie. So, I think, that's just very clearly, very strongly, it's not necessarily going to be a romantic situation. I would advise them against that, actually. And so we'll see what they decide to do. But I think they should just announce it because everybody, it's a little bit like when they were like, is Teen Wiccan tee-hee? And we were all like, what are you doing to me, man? I'm sitting right here. I know it's so obvious. Are you killing me? Even if you hadn't heard it from anybody, he looks just like him. It's really frustrating. So I think that, speed it up a little bit. Let's just get to the story. One of the smartest things they did was they skipped over Spider-Man's origin story for the third time with Tom Holland. Let's go. Let's move it up, okay? Does anybody have any questions or comments about this story before we move on to the next one? Lucas says, Agatha all along achieved what the OG Young Avengers comic did for you, natural, cool characters who happen to be gay while making... a Young Avengers is an interesting comparison, and I wonder if they need a Young Avengers show if they have this. If anything, I would maybe roll Young Avengers into the Wiccan show. There's an answer for you, because they are very similar into their vibe. Young Avengers is a very LGBT-friendly, because Alan Heinberg is a co-creator on it. I believe the artist is also LGBT. For that, when they started that comic. George says, at first it was not about Wiccan, but now I love him. You weren't sure about Wiccan. I hope we get an equally as great Hulkling. He has to be buff. It's the whole opposites attract situation. They better get that casting right. Sarah, there's no Zachary Levi story. He's just fighting with people online because he has so much free time. But he insists that he does not. Let's see here. Wanda's attorney says, would you greenlight a solo Wiccan show or continue his story alongside Agatha and Death? No, I would do a Wiccan show as the next iteration, as I said, really WandaVision Season 3. Agatha is really WandaVision Season 2, and Wiccan would really be Season 3 of this whole thing. Let's bring everybody along. Let's keep with this story. Let's stay with the witches. Bring in a couple Young Avengers. This is where I'd want to see them instead. Let's see here. Jeff says a Wiccan series not only needs to be greenlit, but fast-tracked. Make it before Doomsday so Billy and Tommy are reunited. Yeah, that's right. Who just gifted all those memberships? Oh, Bartleby. Whoa, Bartleby's back. Where you been, Bartleby? But generous as ever. And 50 memberships. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. And you've done such a nice thing for 50 people. That's amazing. Deshaun says, does this mean that earnings calls will be a stronger prediction of series being renewed? Could there be hope for Penguin then? Well, I don't know. CEOs are all very different. Zazzy's very different than Iger. I mean, they're both They're both tough as nails, but they are very different in the way they conduct themselves. I do think I would not do a Penguin season 2. I would do Penguin in the way they did Wanda. I would do another villain series. I do not want to see Penguin season 2, actually. Let's do a vote on that for some reason. Do you want a Penguin and I would do a villain that was a little bit better known. Yes. Another villain series. Yeah, Catwoman, Poison Ivy. I'd like them to do a female character, to be honest with you. Yes, another villain series. No. And then not watching these. Anyone who's watching, by the way, this stream can vote. You don't have to be a member to vote. Anyone can vote in a poll. I would have liked the Arkham show, Miles, but I can worry that I can understand that they get a little bit nervous about, would they give away all the, would that have to have too much? I'm pretty sure Mr. Freeze is in the new movie. I mean, there's too much snow. If there's snow, there's obviously Mr. Freeze. And they even ended Penguin with snow. So, very subtly, but it was there. Sean, you just retracted your message, but I think Agatha will definitely be in any Wiccan show going forward because she's his new mentor. Yeah, AG68. A Catwoman series with Sophia Falcone? I mean, it would just print money. And Penguin could be in it, but I don't think he should be the focus. I always want Penguin to be around, but I don't need to see any more of Oz's journey. Okay, no spoilers. Some people haven't finished Penguin. The poll, Sheldon, should be right there at the top of the chat. Tenerife, I don't know about a Gotham City Sirens show. That would make me nervous. I feel that's movie level. Oh, Justin, you and your husband binged? Yeah, it's a better binge, I think. All the questions are about Penguin. Wanda's attorney says, I want to know what's taking Young Avengers so long. These kids are going to be adults. That's a great point. That's very true. Robert also preferred Penguin as a binge. It was a great binge. Not just as a Mad Love series. That's the only way I would allow it. If they could do a Mad Love series, which really dove into it. Oh, poor Lady Gaga. If they could do a really good Mad Love series, which was kind of sexy, I could do well. That's the only Joker story I would want. That's the only Joker TV show I would want to see. Fran. Oh, hey, Fran. You should definitely watch Penguin. Ashton points out that the gay community really rallies behind a certain type of female character. Wanda and Agatha both fit that bill, and having Billy, too, is the cherry on top. I would agree. It is a specific type of female character. A queen, a mother. And I don't know why Hollywood has such a hard time understanding that. Although sometimes when I talk to people who are working in Hollywood, I have to tell you, they have so little idea of what's happening online. It's kind of shocking. They have some general idea, but they're like, what are you talking about? What do they say? They're like not on Twitter. They don't watch YouTube videos. And it's like your entire audience is plugged into that. Certainly the audience that drives the conversation, and they just have no idea. They don't know the space. They're still going by really antiquated ideas of like magazines and, entertainment news shows on TV. It's very weird. Dancing Dog says the Reeves Batverse is so well developed it seems silly to have a second Batverse. I agree. I think you're preaching to the choir. We better move on to the next story because I do have to get out of here at a certain time. Let's see here. Oh, Caden, I'm glad you got a membership. I believe it was Bartleby. Let's see here. Jose says an erotic thriller with Harley and Joker. I'm telling you, you have to be careful. But although I think Harley is at this point so moved beyond the Joker relationship that sometimes it feels a little bit like a setback. So you have to be careful about that. I don't know, Carl. I'm a little Harvey Dented out. I'm like, how many times am I going to have to see the Harvey Dent storyline? All right. Ben 10 agrees. I've seen it so many times. Okay. That's funny, Jason. Nightwing and Joker. Oh, behave. I would like to see a sexy Nightwing. That's another character that they are just not capitalizing on. You're like, he's right there. What are you doing? All right. Story number 3. Boop. Poor Ray. Hold on. I covered up poor Ray's face. All right. So let's talk about this. Oh, look at all the things. Okay, I'm trying to go this somewhat quickly. Okay. All right. Oh, Bartleby again? That's 100 memberships, Bartleby. Wow. Boom, baby. For that. That's incredible. Bartleby, you're always so generous. It's really, really kind of you. I can't thank you enough. Let me close the poll while we bask in Bartleby's generosity. All right, do you want a Penguin Season 2? 46% of you want another villain show. 27% of you are not watching. You should go watch Penguin. Now you can binge it. I think you should watch it. Honestly, I like the show. It was so weird. I had a few critiques, and some people in the comments were like, why did you review it if you don't even like it? You're always hating on DC. And I was like, this is a glowing review. What are you talking about? So you can't get upset about stuff like that. All right, then 13% of you would like a Season 2, and 12% of you would not want it at all. Oh, thank you, Heather. Any memberships gifting is appreciated. That's very nice of you, Heather. Thank you so much. Look how long it takes for YouTube to hand out that many memberships. That's amazing. Making it rain. That's a downpour. I love it. Thank you. That's so kind of you. Again, that's the best way to support this channel because not only does the channel benefit, but so do some of you. So that's what I like. All right. I'm glad you're so happy, Steven. That makes me so happy. All right. Let's talk about this. Look at all the love for Bartleby. I love it. All righty. So, Hollywood Reporter. So, just the other day, the Hollywood Reporter wrote an article about Star Wars, this movie's Race for Rey and the future of the franchise on the big screen. And they just talked to a bunch of people, and they were all like, yeah, not looking great. So this is a little bit of what's being discussed. All right, so that's what happened. All right, so one of the things that first came out, they said, is somebody who was talking about Star Wars said it's a giant nostalgia play, and it's becoming very difficult to come up with new ways to mine the nostalgia of Star Wars. And a lot of people were kind of annoyed with that comment because it seemed like a lazy comment. And I think it also underscores that the reason they have to focus so much on nostalgia is that they have failed to create any compelling new characters. Except for, I would say, The Mandalorian and Grogu. I think everybody likes The Mandalorian and Grogu. I like The Mandalorian and Grogu. I mean, their seasons might have, gotten a little bit weaker as they've gone along. I think that people are excited about the movie. Also, I think The Mandalorian got a little bit lost in that Dave Filoni decided to use it as a backdoor to moving his animated characters into live action. However, I will also say that those are also popular new characters. And that's right, Daniel. A lot of us really like Kamir from The Acolyte. You know, I kind of like the lead twins too, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't think they're ever going to come back, but I liked the lead twins, Osha and May. I liked them. But yeah, there's Ahsoka, Star Wars Rebels. There are new characters, okay? They did ruin Boba Fett. But I don't think that a nostalgia play is, it's just a lazy way to look at it. If you think the Star Wars is a nostalgia play, you're not really a Star Wars fan. But I've told you that many people in Hollywood who make the content don't sample their own product. They're like, I would never eat that. You're like, then why are you serving it to me? All right. So yeah. So that was I think very discouraging. Then also Rey Skywalker. Oh, I wish her last name wasn't Skywalker. I wish they would undo that. I liked the character of Rey. I still think she has potential, and I'm really touched by the fact that there are so many, particularly younger fans, who are enamored by her. I don't know if they're just dressing up for clicks, But I mean, I see it online and it's always very moving. I'm like, oh, Chewbacca hugged the baby Rey. Yay. All right, but yeah, I think that the Skywalker, you can't just say that you're somebody, you know? I mean, that's not how it works. You know, it just seemed, it was just really bad. I'd rather she be Rey Palpatine. I'd rather that she would rehabilitate the name Palpatine. Like, I mean, especially if she was a gray Jedi, as so many of us had hoped. You know, like, Jedi Palpatine, what? Truly in the middle. So yeah, right? That's right, Sean. Like, if she'd said Rey Palpatine, everybody would have been like, oh, where are we going with this? I mean, one of the coolest things about the new movies was when she had that nightmare where she was a Sith, and she had like the pointed teeth, and we were all like, "Ooh, that's kind of interesting." And I was a Reylo fan. I liked her flirtation with Kylo Ren. I was like, oh, and then they became a dyad, and I was like, ooh, and then they killed him, and I was like, but they're a dyad. What? Like, there were really cool things that they could have done. So I really wish that she would not be Rey Skywalker, and I wish they would take that away. Hey, Sean. So they also talked about the fact that the Rey movie is having so many problems that they feel they might not make it first because it's going through writers, it's not being well written, it's having significant problems. So they're saying that this Kinberg trilogy might come out first, but they don't want to sit on Rey. So they want to use Rey as the Obi-Wan of the Simon Kinberg trilogy. That's kind of what came out of this story. Now, the role of Obi-Wan is obviously to be, you know, we talked about Winston Duke in Black Panther. You know, Obi-Wan is the cool uncle, right? You know, he's that roguish uncle that never got married. I make myself laugh, okay? But he always has good advice that he's always fun to talk to. Or, you know, like that teacher you hang out with at school that's, you know, actually not in a weird way. You know, that's kind of like what, you know, Obi-Wan has always been. And back in the day, I was doing a Star Wars thing with some people I was doing creative stuff with, and we all had to decide what characters we wanted to be, and I picked Obi-Wan because I've always thought Obi-Wan was the coolest. I really like Obi-Wan. You know, maybe I feel Obi-Wan would do movie math. I just like Obi-Wan. So, I don't know about Rey works that way, though. Rey, in my opinion, is too young to be Obi-Wan. And also, I feel like you can't really become Obi-Wan if you haven't, like, I don't know, I don't think she's earned it yet. I like Daisy Ridley, and Daisy Ridley's talking like she's much older than she is. She's like, oh, I have such different life experiences now. I'm like, it hasn't been that long, Daisy. Okay? So I just don't know if she could take on that role. And also, I feel like it feels kind of forced. I think that, you know, everybody really, you know, Obi-Wan in the original movie didn't even make it out of the original movie. You know, Dave Filoni made Obi-Wan a big deal. But this kind of feels like Disney said she's the new Obi-Wan instead of audiences saying she's the new Obi-Wan. It's like the Force. You got to feel it. That's why I think Dave Filoni to some degree is so successful. Somebody who's like sitting in the Star Wars camp, that's right, it's forced. I don't care, Bear. That's pretty funny. They have to go, who is the new Obi-Wan? And they have to feel it. And yeah, you got to spend copious amounts of time on social media. Sorry, that's the job. And you got to sit there and you got to feel it. And you go, who should it be? Who should it be? And you know who the Force is telling me should be the new one? Carrie-Anne Moss, if she hadn't been killed. There's your freaking Obi-Wan. What a missed opportunity. It makes me so annoyed. That's right, Tenerife just agreed. I think they're trying to make Ahsoka Obi-Wan as well. I'm telling you, Ahsoka's not Obi-Wan either. It's this lady. Right here. And you know how she earned it? Because she was Trinity in The Matrix. I think audiences feel that way about her. I don't like Ahsoka as Obi-Wan because Ahsoka is supposed to be more peppy. Nobody likes sad Ahsoka. That was a big problem with the Ahsoka live-action series. Everybody was like, why is Ahsoka so depressed? This sucks. So I don't think that, I can see some of you wanting her to be Obi-Wan, and I guess I would take her over Rey. But I'm sorry, it's Carrie-Anne Moss is this character. And that's why I wish they hadn't killed her, because she would have been absolutely perfect in the role. Or Saul had good Obi-Wan vibes until we found out that he killed someone's mom right in front of them. That was so bad. There was no coming back from that, you know? But Saul had Obi-Wan potential as well. I felt he was really great too. But yeah, these characters would be better. But yeah, I just feel that Rey just feels like they're telling us that that's the new Obi-Wan, and I just don't think it's going to go over well. I would like to see Obi-Wan in her prime as a Jedi. I'm not saying they need to get rid of Rey. I want to make that clear. I would like to see Rey in her prime as a Jedi. We never got to see that. I would like to see Rey as a powerful Jedi who's not following around any OG trilogy characters being like, oh, were you really with them? Tell me about your story. I mean, that really was a giant waste of her time for 3 movies. But I would like to just see her be a Jedi. And she talks to Carrie-Anne Moss. That's a lot of ladies, but I mean, the cool ladies, to be honest. I don't know. I like it. All right, so that I got a little ahead of myself there. I think the Acolyte caused a lot of problems as well for this situation. I think it really damaged the Jedi brand. You know, I think now when you see a Jedi, you're like, hold on, it might not be a good Jedi. Which is a little bit how people act when they see law enforcement individuals. So I guess that's realistic. But, you know, it's fiction and fantasy, and you would want everybody to always see a Jedi and be like, you know, how real do we want our stuff to get? You know, sometimes the Avengers are mean too after Civil War, you know, but the way they vilified Tony, I'll never forget it. But I do now see, you know, now when I see the Jedi, I mean, when I was reacting to the first Skeleton Crew trailer and I saw Jude Law, I was like, he might be evil. Let's watch out. Let's be careful. I mean, I wouldn't trust a Jedi at this point anymore. I'd be like, let's see what kind of Jedi they are. And that's a little sad when you think about it, you know? Like, it was supposed to just be like, I really wish it had been the Horsemen theory in the Acolyte, where it was just those 4. Just those 4 Jedi turned bad, and that's how we got the Sith. But instead, we found out there was rampant corruption within the Jedi organization. And then you just kind of were like, oh, So, that's right, not modern art history. You shouldn't take candy from anybody. It just should be a rule, because it's too risky. But yeah, as I said, you know, Carrie-Anne Moss, she would have been a great Obi-Wan. So, all right, does anybody have any questions about this story? Chris says, it's kind of a bummer we didn't get to see Rey be a Jedi for a time, just straight from student to master. Hopefully they don't just kill her off. Yeah, I think Daisy Ridley, especially after I saw Young Woman in the Sea, go watch it. It's an incredible movie currently airing on Disney+. It doesn't cost you anything if you're already a subscriber. She's an incredible actress, and she's very good with physicality. And I would love to see her be a proper Jedi. Ruben says maybe Carrie-Anne Moss can come back. Yeah, maybe she has a long-lost relative who just looks a lot like her. Dye her hair a different color. Mark, I don't think there's a Star Wars in 2025. There's shows like Andor, but I think, isn't The Mandalorian and Grogu coming out in summer 2026, I think? Yeah. Steven says, I think the Jedi mislead with Finn didn't help Rey. That's right, and I think the reason there was a mislead is because they didn't decide themselves what they wanted to do. Scores, I'm not sure why Kathleen Kennedy is still deciding things for Star Wars. It's surprising to me. Nacho, I'm going to review The Brutalists closer to release. It comes out December 20th. So, and I need videos for around then, so I don't see any reason to review it this early. April points out we already have an Obi-Wan. That's a good point. I'm sure Ewan McGregor read this article and was like, what? Because he's been advocating for an Obi-Wan season 2. I hope it's better than season 1. It was cool to see him again, and I think he still very much could play the role. And I liked seeing him interacting with Darth Vader. And I'd like to see him interact with Ahsoka, to be honest with you. Although, didn't he die? So he can't interact with this. This is the problem with telling stories out of order. You're like, no, wait a minute, that character's no longer in that timeline. And you're like, but I'm watching them right now myself. And they're like, but that show takes place X number of years beforehand. And you're like, you gotta be effing kidding me, man. I just want to see Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and Darth Vader in live action. I've got Anakin. I've got live action Ahsoka. I've got Ewan McGregor willing to be Obi-Wan. Why can't I see it? And you're like, it's just ridiculous. And then some Star Wars fan comes along and goes, you're not a real fan. Tee-hee. You're like, shut up. You know, you're like, I just want to have a good time. And let's throw live action Omega and the Bad Batch in there. Oh, give me all the toys. Where's the Dave Filoni movie? Why do they announce these things? I'm glad I amused you, Senor Lullaby. That's right, Kyle. Ahsoka could maybe meet his Force ghost. I'd be like, please, Ewan. This is what I have for you. Ruben says, love your videos, Grace, since Wonder Woman. Thank you. But maybe Carrie-Anne Moss comes back as Zendara's twin sister, who was the one who has one spot next to her. That's right. We were like, why do you have these distracting moles for the character? What's that supposed to be? That's right. Maybe she had a twin. I wanted Henry Cavill to come back to Mission Impossible as a twin. I was like, they don't use the twin storyline enough. Everybody would allow it for our favorite characters. I want Henry Cavill as a twin back in Mission Impossible, and I want Carrie-Anne Moss back as a twin in Star Wars. I really don't care. I mean, if Palpatine can come back, anyone can come back. I'd be like, where's that goddamn cloning machine? Let's use it for good. That's your answer. Isn't that right? Didn't they introduce clones? I just thought of that. They're cloning people. Problem solved. Let's go clone all the good characters and bring them back. As long as we have this stupid idea, let's use it for a good idea, a good thing. Look at us. We're so productive in our meetings. We've solved so many problems for Hollywood. And for free. For free. Cloney, clone, Marnique. That's right. I feel like the Swedish chef with the clone machine. Bloop, 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 bloop. I'd just be in that room, hitting the button, being like, oh yeah, here we go. Boop, Indara. Boop, Obi-Wan. Boop, Brainiac. And let's head over to DC. It's just so obvious. All right. Okay, let's move on to the Q&A because I am running out of time. All right. That's right, Marnique. You get a clone. You get a clone. Hey, Chris. Thanks for joining. Alrighty. I can do about 5 minutes of Q&A today, I'm sorry to say. Julian says, hi, Grace. Did you see that Warner Brothers Discovery is selling off expensive Batmobiles to cheap copper? What do you mean? Oh, what do you mean? What is happening? Is it over? I think they're just liquidating, I guess. Yeah, I saw they were selling 10 Tumbler Batmobiles. I think they're like, what, $3 million a piece or something? And they're not street legal, but they're fully operational. I was like, does the pod pop out and you can motorcycle around on it? If I had like just money to burn, I'd be tempted to buy one, to be honest with you. Let's see here. Knox says, considering how audiences have changed over time, how does Marvel build up endgame level excitement for Doomsday with everything being so delayed? Where is Shang-Chi? Who knows? He's sitting on the freaking bench, man. That bench is so deep and long. It's like an infinity bench at Marvel these days. I think they're trying to build up Doomsday excitement by saying it's going to be the return of Robert Downey Jr. and the Russo brothers. If only they had made any good movies since they left Marvel. Sorry, not sorry. I didn't like him and Oppenheimer. But I don't know. Let's see it. Let's see what characters are included in the Doomsday movie. I will say I think that the Russo brothers are very good at doing action sequences, so that's promising. And they have not been able to find a director since, although I thought that Destin Daniel Cretton did a good job with action sequences in Shang-Chi. Tyler says, how do you feel about Zendaya's upcoming lineup? I'm worried people already complain about her being... I would just wish she wasn't doing the back-to-back things with Tom Holland. I think it's silly for them to do a Nolan movie and a Spider-Man movie within the same month, where they're both in both. And I would also like to see, I've said I want Zendaya not to be in girlfriend roles, and then she's literally in movies with her boyfriend. I just want to see Zendaya be her own thing, where she's the lead in her own movies. I think she's ready. I'm a huge Zendaya fan. I think she's incredibly talented. I'm like, take off the training wheels, man. Let's see here. Taylor says, how would you fix Star Wars as a suit? I don't think a lot of fans really have faith in Disney. Maybe an Andor quality mace. But nobody watched Andor. You know, everybody's like, ooh, Andor. And I'm like, do you not remember that nobody watched that thing? Nobody. Honestly, and also, I don't know how, I would go to the Filoniverse. I'd just full on skip to the Filoniverse live action. That's what I would consider doing. I would have taken a longer break. I think they didn't really take a break because they had all the Disney Plus shows. I actually feel the future of Star Wars is not relying on nostalgia. That was my whole problem with The Force Awakens. I was like, you just remade A New Hope. And they were like, but it made $1 kajillion. And I was like, it's like Sony with their Spider-Man-less movies. They kept making so much money, they didn't change. Carter, yay, 5 years, I love it. Are we going to get a 5-year badge? I have to think of a different stone color. Maybe I will try and see for a 5-year badge. Bartleby, look at that wonderful rainbow of hearts and rainbows. That's lovely, Bartleby. I see you. Lucas says, should Snow White go straight to Disney Plus? No. It looks so good outside of the dwarves. It looks so good. It's like the wedding and cake it's the most elaborate frickin' fantasy wedding cake I've ever seen. It just is so gorgeous and stunning from a visual perspective, except for the dwarves. I think that's going to have to be like a running gag with Snow White. What a great movie, except for the dwarves. I'm so excited for this movie, except for the dwarves. Oh, it was so well done, except for the dwarves. You know, like that's just kind of like the position we're going to be stuck with. Peter Dinklage. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, you know. I wish they would be like, Rachel Zegler, come on, man. You know, I mean, did you not see the poll? It was the country was split 50-50, you know. Let's see here. Hey, Maggie. Hey, Ruben. Thanks for gifting a membership. Mina, Rogue One did do very well. That's a good point. Yeah. Lucas T is a little bit of a shit stir, but he's right. That is what Rachel Zegler said. Rachel Zegler's a shit stir as well. All right. We all have a little shit stir in us, but you got to know when to stir the shit and when to sit down. You got to know. You got to do it. There should be a Kenny Rogers song about stirring the shit. Whew. Let's see here. And Rachel Zegler could sing it. Let's see here. Got to be a responsible shit stirrer. I try to be. I don't care, Bear. I think that Gal Gadot is a huge issue for Snow White. And I think, you know, let's slow our roll. We'll definitely be talking about that, I think, when, you know. And also, let's see. It would be wonderful if the situation would resolve itself in the Middle East and everybody could be okay. So let's see what happens. Hey, Dancing Dog 60. Gamer on a Budget says, Grace, will you watch the Brazilian movie I'm Still Here from Walter Sales? I don't know. I have a lot to watch. Oh, Mena. It's good to know that your name is pronounced Mena. Thank you. Chris says, new member today, but a fan for a day. Glad I am too. Don't always agree, but that's why I'm a fan. Helps to keep the conversation more engaging. Yes, nobody has to agree with me. Sometimes people say, I'll end this on, I gotta go. But I'll end this on a note. Sometimes people say that I speak with authority as if I assume that what I am saying is, you know, universal. I think sometimes people react that way to me because I'm a woman, okay? And I also work very hard not to be apologetic as a woman. I feel very strongly women should not be apologetic because men don't have to be apologetic. I even talked about that in my Gladiator review. You know, sometimes people, when I do a review and I don't like something, people in the comments will be like, that's your opinion. And I'm like, no shit, it's my opinion. That's what a review is. It's a fucking opinion. a Lady Gaga fan got upset with me and said, well, you're just sharing your opinion on Lady Gaga. And I was like, yeah, I'm a pundit. I'm sharing my opinion. It's my educated, informed opinion, but that's what I'm doing, So, but I even forgot what I was talking about. I got so annoyed. But, oh yeah, so I will always speak with authority because I am somebody who is in the space. I am a pundit. I am speaking my, again, I think that I've earned a reputation as someone who does know what they're talking about, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I can be surprised just like everyone else. And at the end of the day, I think my predictions are pretty good, but I'm not actually a clairvoyant. And I think that, male commentators don't have to apologize or put an asterisk on their commentary. And I feel very strongly that I shouldn't either. But obviously, because I'm a woman, it's perceived differently. It's something I've dealt with my entire life. These conversations are not new to me. I was having these conversations in school. So I'm used to it. But sometimes people don't know me. Sometimes people don't know my channel. Sometimes people are new to the conversation around me. So sometimes I have to, I just want to restate that. So that's something I just wanted to make clear, and I will always be forceful in my opinion because I'm in the opinion business. It's a scary business to be in, obviously these days an opinion, people don't want you to have opinions. The safest space is to be like, I don't know. But then that's not what I do. What I do for a living is I have opinions. And I not only have opinions for a living, I have strong opinions. And so that's what I do. And I think that we're in a business where most people have hateful, strong opinions. I'm very proud of the fact that I've managed to have strong opinions that are not hateful. Sometimes they're perceived as hateful because you don't agree with them, but they're never hateful. I always come from a good place. I always come from a place that I can back up. And also, I'm always willing to change my mind. I have never had a situation where I have not changed my mind. I'm always open to changing my mind if the circumstances allow it. All right, that's my point. Thank you all for being so wonderful. And by the way, I could not do any of this without you, without your support. And this is a conversation. I am on YouTube. One of the things I love about the spaces that I'm in, YouTube, Twitter, is that they're conversation spaces. So I'm having a conversation with you. These live streams have changed my channel. They've changed me as a person. They've changed my coverage. And so I just really love you guys. On that note, tomorrow there will be a live stream. It'll be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be a BTT focus group, and we'll be talking about Marvel. All right, so you'll hear a couple other opinions tomorrow as well. Bye. I loves you. Okay, bye-bye.